even being a twin, we might always get identified as a twin, but I've got to make a life for me.
Right.
So
I would say for the first time ever, as like a spectator, I've seen it looks like football consumes you, like in the good way. Like
it's fun to spend my time around that. It's fun.
I mean, like, but it drives you. It gives you so much passion and energy.
Sure.
And I think, because I do, man, I think stupid deep about life. And like, some days I really wish I didn't, because it's exhausting. If only people knew how silly deep I think about life. But like, I think about it in the sense of like, I no longer want to have days between now and my time, whenever my time's up. I no longer want to have days where it's like, oh, I didn't live life how Jordan wanted to live. It's like, come on, man. Like, you owe it to yourself to give, I don't know, just give yourself the time, give yourself the space to do the things that you want to do the things that bring you light, that bring you energy, that consume you.
And push through
so
the
that
obstacles.
You can deal with the other stuff that you have to deal with in life. Like, I'm so sick of people acting like there's no solution to certain things in our lives. Like, there are other things that are like, it's like way bigger, in depth, maybe even like you need multiple people involved on bringing the change. But like for me, it was almost like a light switch. I constantly, it's like, Travis texted me the other day and it's like, duh, we've even talked about it with the whole like controlling what you can control. But like, if I don't change, why is X, Y, or Z gonna change? The thing that I'm having an input in on.
That's one of the things I thought about this morning, was just like, man, anything, like we get so tied up in spending so much energy on outward things that's like, why isn't this changing? That if we took all that outward energy that we put out and we spent it on things that we're trying to do in our life, some significant change would happen. I was looking through Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell this morning, and one of the things that I underlined was basically that to have some grand change, there's likely multiple little changes that happen along the way.
Right.
And then there's obviously one, the title of the book,
Tipping
Tipping Point, where it's like, okay, everything, works. But it's just like, people think it's going to be like this one moment. And a lot of times it can be pointed to like, hey, the tipping point, that one moment.
Yeah, a critical one.
What took place up into that to allow for that to be this tipping point? Okay, the cup, the water's getting filled up. Before it starts to overflow, like, you still had all these moments that filled up the cup.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times in my life, in previous things I was working on, I would get certain things in motion and then start like telling people. Yeah. And like telling people, and then like really lose sight of like, well, you really got to do this stuff. You got to really get this stuff done. The next thing I know is like, I feel like a fraud, right? And so then you spiral. So like this time around, especially with the stuff we're doing with Share One Love and the South Carolina juvenile justice system, like I've been working like behind the scenes for months now, almost a year since when, I really started getting invested in things. And like until recently, I just started telling other people about the stuff I'm doing. Cause like I needed to be curious.
Right.
Well, is this something that I really want to do with this organization that we have? Is this something that we really want to be invested in? And like, for me, is this where I want to put my energy to make my ripple?
Right. Well, and my former boss, Mr. Ronnie, would say, you don't tell people what rides you're going to ride at the fair before you go. Huh. You tell them what rides you rode
right
after the fact.
I like that.
So, and that was what his dad told him, and he shared a story with me, and it was great. And I was like, wow, I didn't even think about that. Like sometimes, so often we're like, and I was talking about that initial surge of energy. Sometimes we're like, this is what I'm thinking, blah, blah, blah. And you tell so many people, and then all of a sudden you become exhausted with the expectations that you've put on yourself, instead of actually like doing the practical things behind the scenes.
The little things.
The things I like to call the shadow work.
The
stuff you do when no one's looking.
Because that's really the stuff that like makes the tipping point moments a successful
Absolutely.
moment, right?
I mean, listen, and apologies in advance, but I don't really care. I'm going to make a lot of references to, especially with my last year of working with my football players, like it's very practical for me, and this is why I love football, is like practical to talk about life. All right, I had one player who has done a ton of work in this offseason to just get himself a position to start on the varsity team, right? And I told him, man, you can do everything you can do with like team workouts. You can do everything you can do with little extra workouts with me, but it's still going to be stuff that you do by yourself, the shadow work that sets you apart. And you could do everything right. Molly's game.
Right.
Cards. Actually, that was I'm sorry, that's thinking in bets, Annie Duke. But poker is a game where you can do everything right up until that final card and make the right decisions and still lose.
Right.
So like, circling back to my boy, he's doing all this work and he still might not start. But it's a matter of being prepared. Stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. That whole idea, right? So if you're ready for the moment, obviously the opportunity is going to present itself at some point. It might not be this year, might be next year. It doesn't matter. But when you're ready, boom.
Yeah, I mean, even with I'm seeing seeds from like 6 years ago in my life starting to sprout now that I thought like long were dead.
Well, it's not up to you, man. You plant that seed, and then
you tend the soil, you do the things that you can do, and you let it grow. I'm big on the farmer.
When I'm big on grace, and I'm big on I'm big on, hey, it's sometimes something bigger's out there looking out for you to connect some of these dots. You'd be surprised.
I tell myself every morning that I'm a product of grace and I'm a product of maturity.
Yeah, I mean,
because like the grace is something that I have zero control over.
Sure.
There's grace and it's abundant and I can step in it and I can accept it and my soul can feel free right there because of that grace. But the maturity is on me because it's like wisdom is justified by her deeds. I only mature when I act in the manner that I desire to act for my life. I only mature when I do those things that like live distinctly, salt and light. Like that's important to me. I tell myself every morning that I want to live distinctly, and so there's a certain way I have to carry myself. There's a certain way that I have to, and I'm not the greatest at it all the time, which means I have to ask for forgiveness.
Well, you're a human being.
Yeah, and that's the best part about it. It's like when we talked about it last season, it's just like I'm not perfect. I don't have to be.
Give yourself some grace.
Give yourself grace. All those things.
You got to.
The stuff that I'm doing now in my life will prepare me for whoever I am at 40, right? Because I think if I continue my trajectory, there's no way that I'm the same person at 40 that I am right here sitting in this chair today.
Sure. Yeah, I think.
And I hope to God I'm not.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, and it comes from what you're doing in your dailies.
Yeah.
If you're doing things throughout your day.
Again,
future change comes from change right now. Change in this moment.
Yeah.
No, it does. That's alchemist. That's fact.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't you go
Alchemist.
Don't you go against the alchemist.
Wynn's like started like a trend with the Alchemist. I'm pretty sure like he's gonna start like a wave of like a resurgence of this book.
You're welcome. Give me a royalty.
It's probably gonna end up in like educational curriculum and stuff. I mean, I totally want to use this in the juvenile detention centers and like.
I think it's great. It's not even. It's one because I can't read on a high level, and it's a very easy.
I can't read good.
No, that's not what I said.
Sorry.
No, that's not what I said. I'm just saying it's a very easy read. It's a quick read,
right?
And so it can speak to multiple levels. I mean, you can be an adult who can read crazy books, War and Peace type stuff. And
you can read War and Peace.
I can read it. I believe in myself. Thank you. I'm just saying it. I think just the journey. It talks about a journey, and I think that's the main. That's the best part because there's so many aspects of the journey. We think we deserve it to be. All right, 3 months and I'll be at this point. And then it's like, hey, man, that turns into 3 years or whatever. And then along the way, you learn so much. And I mean, it's life. And it's a very easy way it was a practical way for me to read about this kid's journey and then be like, hey, I see some of that in my life. So, yeah, that's why I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, I dig the full circle aspect of it. It's that at the end of the day, like, what you're searching for is right here.
Well, right. And it's not necessarily...
And just because it's like, it might not, like you said, physically be here, like treasure, physically, maybe in my hands or whatever, like right here in this moment, I have the opportunity to step in the direction of the treasure life that I see for myself.
Yeah, I mean, it even that goes back to what you were even talking about curiosity and what you were talking about finding what consumes you. It's like, I mean, even in that book, he was a shepherd, and his dad was like, don't be a shepherd. That's dumb. And he was like, well, I want to travel, so I'm going to go do that. And he made a decision. And then within, a few years,
spoiler,
doing something different. Read the book.
Like, we should let him read the book.
I'm not, man.
You're over there, like, giving plot stuff,
That was the beginning. That's the first chapter.
So?
The first section.
That's fine.
Get out of here.
I was just looking out, man.
Well,
trying to leave some mystery.
Read the book.
There you go.
Read the book.
You're trying to get sponsored by it.
I said, give me a royalty.
Yeah.
If there's some kind of resurgence and it really kind of flows through, Nah. Paolo, I'm your man.
Learning a lot about just the importance of rest in this time.
That's one. Yep. And I'm going to talk about my football players to extent, but I tell my kids all the time, you have to rest your body. Like you can do all these
And
things.
you're
but
talking physically too.
I'm talking physically. I mean, it's mental too, because if
Yeah.
your mind's always running, you got to find time to rest, man. Even according to the scriptures, the Son of God rested. He found time to rest. This is God. This is a dude who could literally like, I'm going to stay up forever and ever, amen, kind of thing, and was like,
Is that like Randy Trash?
I need a nap.
Forever and ever,
You know I don't
amen.
quote country songs.
Yeah, I think you just did right there.
not on purpose.
so subconsciously.
All I'm saying is, so we got to give ourselves the same kind of things that.
The creator is okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I'm saying.
I feel.
Believe what you want to believe, but according to those scriptures, this man was the Son of God, and that man.
Yeah, for me, it's more like the rest, not even necessarily the physical aspect. Like, yeah, I'm like getting good sleep and like resting your body and those types of things. But I think being better to myself mentally is helping me rest more.
How do you speak to yourself?
Doing the things that fill my cup in my off time so that I can continue to engage and do the stuff that I want to do and be exactly who it is that I want to be. Because, like, it's getting very difficult for me right now to like see what's going on in the world and not be like furious about it, and in a sense, because like we can do better as humans, and like that's where I struggle with the most. And then I try to bring it back down. It's like, all right, well, like rein it back in, right? Because like, what am I gonna do on this mass level right now or at all? Like, I'm just stay your course.
Yeah, and you can get overwhelmed with the grand, but it's the micro.
Well, the micro is where, I mean, this is where the change is happening.
Because it's the change in you, and then it's the
grassroots.
change in the people around you.
It is.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it would be contagious. I
It is.
honestly do. I honestly
is.
believe it would be contagious if people literally started taking advantage of where they are, started finding gratitude for where they are and what they have already, that everything they have is good, especially us in the West, man. We've got so many things good, and I know
Yeah.
we talked about that stuff, but it's just like, if we do that, we can get a community of people who really start seeing change. It's like, what if like one neighborhood block was like, you know what, we're going to take care of this litter problem in our community. Or like, hey man, we got some people that we know are homeless who walk up these streets. Hey man, we're going to do something to make sure they have food. Or this, like, if we started like doing that again, I think we have to rehumanize people. I think that's like the biggest thing that we've done now in society is that we've dehumanized everybody else but the people who agree with us, and we've like made ourselves individually as like the most important being. And now granted, we are to ourselves, right?
you got to be kind of selfish.
You do, but in the sense of like, we're like, my way matters regardless of what it does for other people. Like, I don't think that is the healthiest way.
Yeah, I think we need to always be open to being like, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
You always have to be open to like.
I feel like we've lost a lot of that.
Well, we're not
nowadays.
good at taking other people's opinions,
Well,
if we completely
and in fairness,
disagree.
a lot of other people's opinions right now are coming at this level. And when you come at someone like this, why would I believe or listen to anything? I'm gonna be defensive.
Yeah, I'm putting on my dukes.
You know,
Ain't gonna yell at me.
I think we've lost the art of the common ground. I feel like I've said that before too. I know I'm a broken record, but we've lost the ability to have conversation with people that we fundamentally differ from, and then leave the table still valuing their humanity, but still disagreeing.
Yeah.
Like now it's almost like torches and pitchforks.
Well, it's tough, man.
and-
It's tough to walk away, even if like to take a time out. Like, you know, I remember being passionate in an argument or something, and like feeling like almost shaky. Like, you're just not getting it. But like, hey, you got to be able to take that time out. And
What's
just be like,
wrong
hey,
with that?
I need-
It's almost like we've lost.
I need a full. I need a 30.
I need a It's almost like we lost that art, though, right? We almost think that because even with all the beautiful stuff with technology, it's almost like we have to respond immediately. So I have to send that text when I'm super angry instead of thinking on it and like build like all these types of things. Having these conversations with the anger is like, hey, I need to not see you right now. Like those types of things. I don't know. And like, that's not to say that I'm good at that type of stuff. In fact, I think one of the biggest things that I will be learning in this season of my life is like how to really navigate tough conversations. Because I would say like I struggle with that a lot, because a lot of times I won't speak my truth because I'm scared to even go deeper into it. But at the same time, like,
Well, I mean, it comes
how
down,
do we heal
It comes down to fear.
if we don't Yeah.
It comes down
We're
to
not vulnerable. Braving the wilderness. I read that recently, and like, number one, I don't know why it took me so long to read Brene Brown's books. Because like when I read them, it's like, all right, she's really talking to me. Like I really get a lot of stuff out of her.
you and a lot of people.
Yeah, fair. That's fine. I feel like you said we've almost had that exact same thing in the other season. But at this point now, I've got like 3 edited episodes on fear because we had talked about maybe even doing like a second season on fear.
Oh yeah.
And I've got some of that stuff. Maybe one day I'll release it out. You could hear Ricky and Baker in the background like barking and stuff at some points back when we could let them be in the backyard and not
worry about them jumping.
about them jumping fences or like, yelling at the neighbors.
Not playing nice with the
Not
other
playing
dogs.
nice. That's a good way to put it. They're lovable dogs, though.
To us, yeah.
To us, yeah. And Travis. That's about
fair.
it. Everybody else we're working on it.
Intruder.
Yeah, we're working on it. They don't trust people. But that's okay.
Listen, I mean, it comes down to fear, though. You were even talking about community and like people being willing to invest in stuff. Listen, you gotta get vulnerable, man. You gotta let that shield down. You gotta shed light on some of your insecurities and some of the places that you fail, and also feel safe enough to be able to do that and not. Well, I mean, you're gonna get judged for it by somebody, regardless, right? It doesn't matter, but at least hopefully you find some kind of core where it's like, hey, I can be completely me
Right.
and not really worry about, life's messy, man. Life's messy. And so like if you can be completely you in your mess and not feel like you're going to be judged, especially by the people. Well, and I'll also say this, if you feel like you're going to be judged by the people who are closest to you, maybe you need to find other people who should be close to you.
That's fair.
That doesn't mean that people you care about or who are close to you right now don't have good insight to that. But you need to take it how you like.
Well, you definitely need to like what? Show me who you spend your time with. I'll show you where you'll be in 5 years.
Yeah,
type
I mean,
stuff.
but
And
I mean, even we can have moments where I can feel like I can be critical of something that's happening in your life, and I might not communicate it with you the best way. And we've got like the best.
Yeah,
we've got more equity than anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
So-
I think to some degree, it's like that's the beauty of being a twin and being twins as close as we are, is that we have the ability to completely screw it up with a human, and there's grace for redemption
right here.
right here.